We're getting another free 5-star selector in the game over some optimization issues, and pretty much Kiro Games just being very generous to the community at this point. So in this video, I decided that I should maybe talk about each and every standard 5-star character that you should probably just go for. So first up, we got Encore, who is a member of the Black Shore. Now let me go ahead and say it, she's top 3 maybe best damage dealers in the game if that you got, you know, skill behind it, because she's a very technical character, so you need awareness, skill, or knowledge on what you're doing when you're using Encore. She does have a very hard time with parrying though, so of course there are times where you are basic attacking or something where you generally will randomly parry an enemy, but majority of the time you need to jump into a parry. That's her best way to really stay consistent when it comes to parrying with Encore. So yeah, that's like really the only time I truly mean it. I ran into issues where I used Encore. I'm an Encore main. I ran into that issue too many times, and it took me a while before I realized that you need to parry. You need to jump into a parry with Encore. It's probably her best way to really parry, apparently. So there's that with Encore, but her forte is another huge issue about her gameplay when you are using Encore. So if you are trying to go for a solo Encore run, be aware of her forte. Basically, her forte is kind of like where she stands idle and she's about to just explode or rage and do this area of attack, you know, fusion damage towards enemies in the nearby radius. I think she also sucks them up kind of. I seen enemies just like gradually just go towards Encore in a way, but I'm not too sure about that. But she do have her issues. She can be attacked in this stage. I'm pretty sure she do get damage reduction, but it doesn't mean she could die. Like, she could still die in this forte stage. So you do need to be careful when you're using Encore. So the best way you want to solve this issue is the moment when you do hold on to your attack where you about to go, where you about to explode, switch to another character. That's the best way to make sure Encore don't take no damage in the process, and you'll be fine from there. And then after you're done using that other character, you can switch right back to Encore. That's the best way to really use Encore when you're going to use her forte. However, if you are trying to do a solo run with Encore, this would be her major issue, as she will just eat up any damage that the Echo or enemy or boss, whoever you're fighting against, will just do against you. So be very aware of that. So while Encore could be amazing, she's a very technical and hard to use character to master, especially if you're a casual player that just want to play Wuthering ways and don't really want to stress out too much and just have the best experience. No, you're gonna need skill to back. You need skill to back up with Encore here. So if you don't want to use skill with Encore, there are other characters such as Rover that do exist. But I highly, and I even argue, you guys give Encore a try. And you know, maybe she is for you. Who knows? Next up, we got Lingyang. Now, I did pull for Lingyang, but I'm not gonna use him because he do have his pros and cons. So pretty much for Lingyang, he's a very good glacial damage dealer character, don't get me wrong, but probably one of the few lowest prioritized characters in the community, and probably not the best when it comes to damage, however, but I do believe he is a lot better when you do use his liberation, as I heard. Lingyang can be paired on the team with Sanhua, but there is another issue there as well, as Sanhua is also a very technical character, as you also do need to be good with using Sanhua as when you're using her forte. It's kind of a weird gameplay with her. You have to use your ultimate or liberation and skill. You need to use your forte soon after, where she does this like glacial radius that explodes, and it's kind of like a timer thing that you need to nail down. It's kind of really hard to explain Sanhua forte, but she's another technical character. So you do need somewhat kind of skill to back up with Sanhua as well if you're going to be using Lingyang and Sanhua on the same team. And also speaking, Lingyang can also benefit from Sanhua anyway, as her outro skill do give deepen damage. So like Lingyang will also benefit from having more damage buff with him. But if you do want a damage dealer, I would probably highly recommend you guys to look for somebody else. But if you don't care for meta, you know, pull for who you want to, and I think Lingyang will be such a fun character for you guys to try out. Next up, we got Jianxin. Now, she is a sort of a hybrid character in a way. She could do damage and she could support. So a lot of people have been trying to build her off of support. Her kit is very weird nonetheless, but she do have 2 single target attacks, which is coming from her basic attack obviously, and her not her liberation, but her skill, as I believe when I was using her. I really haven't ran into a point where I used her skill and it hit multiple enemies, but there is a chance where it probably can. But she is a AoE character, area of effect, and a crowd control character, coming from her liberation, and not only coming from her liberation, but also her forte as well when she's doing this little spin attack before she gives your whole entire team a shield. Her damage is pretty good, but if you are looking for an aerial damage dealer, I would just go ahead and say just pull for Jian, as Jian will be way better than using Jianxin. But don't get me wrong, Jianxin is a perfect character anyway because of her outro skill. The next character or the other character on the nearby team that activates an outro skill gains a 38% resonant liberation damage for 14 seconds. I have been using her with Encore for this exact reason, as Encore is really good in her liberation stage. So if you are looking for somebody that could buff Encore liberation stage or her ultimate, Jianxin is your perfect choice, or you should just wait for Yinlin, as Yinlin I'm pretty sure will be doing the same exact thing with her outro skill. But for the time being, she's a really good hybrid character, but nothing to it saying since it takes time to build her forte, so she can gain a shield, and I've also noticed she heals as well. But most part, you're probably going to get Jianxin just for her AoE and her CC kit, and including her outro skill as well. So if you don't really care for meta, or care for Yinlin as well, then she's an actual perfect character for you, and you can't go wrong with her. Next up, we got Verina. Now this is a character that everybody and their mother was re-rolling for. I mean, she's probably the #1 character in the game right now. I would even say that you should easily try to go and get if you don't have Verina yet. And speaking of which, we are getting a free 5-star selector character once again because of the issues that's been currently going on for Wuthering Waves. If you've been having performance issues such as I've been having major performance issues, but I've been still grinding through the performance and I would still be uploading videos. So just be on the lookout if you see any random stutter or lag when I'm playing in the game, because I'm still going to be grinding. But back on track. Encore, what is making Encore a broken character, you might say? So for one, she's a spectral character. There's not really that many spectral characters, so you could easily place her on a spectral mono team with Rover if you truly want to. But because she's just a broken support character overall, she could resist fatal death for you, and she could also buff your whole entire team as well for 30 seconds with her outro skill for by 15%, which is a crazy amount. Like, she is giving your whole entire team a crazy amount of like team wide buffs for your whole entire team. So generally speaking, she also has one of the fastest rotations in the game as well. So if you are looking for a character that you can quickly swap into and then out, she's your character as well. So I would just argue that if you want a broken support character overall, just a character that is meta right now at the current time of recording this, but also have a possibility of being power crept anytime soon, she is a go-to character that you should definitely get once you get that free 5-star selector when Calcharo Games send us that in mail. Last but not least, we have Calcharo. Now Calcharo is probably the #1 most technical character that is hard to master, and you got to be aware of what you're doing as well when you're using Calcharo. But Calcharo is probably the best electric damage dealer at the time of recording this, until who knows, maybe when Yinlin drop. But even then, Yinlin and Calcharo will work on the same team together. So basically speaking, once Yinlin comes out, you rather just say Electro is probably the best in game once Yinlin comes out. But at the time of recording this, I don't think there's like no best like sort of attribute team at the moment until Yinlin comes out. But for now, we're just got to wait for Yinlin when she comes around. But if you are getting Calcharo, just wait for Yinlin, because Calcharo and Yinlin together on the team will just make the game, smooth as bread and butter, or whatever the people say nowadays, right? But generally speaking, Calcharo is just a damage dealer monster, basically meaning everything of what he do is just dealing straight damage. But he do have an issue. He do struggle on range, so he's not really somebody like Encore where you can keep like maybe a far or a medium distance and still attack somebody. He is a up close and personal character, meaning that most content in the game, especially fighting against Scar and other characters, like you gotta be on your toes, perfect dodging and everything, just so you won't die. Like generally speaking, Calcharo is one of the few technical characters as well, because he has to play up close and personal. So if you're not looking for a character like that, then he probably won't be your character. But even then, I would say he's probably like the top prioritized character that you should go for at the time of recording this if you're not going to get Jian. So in order, if you're looking on who is the best 5-star character that you should probably get, I would say first is Verina, as Verina is one of the most broken support characters that could just go on any team that you're building at the moment, especially if you're going to use Havoc Rover that you would get at the end of the game. She would still work out perfectly fine. And especially if you use it somebody like Jianxin, as Jianxin is a most risky character. So if you are one top, she do have a skill where she will make it where she will resist that fatal death where she would not die on field as well. So in general, Verina is the first character that I would say that you should probably look at and probably go for the time being. Second is being Calcharo. Calcharo is just a damage dealing monster and would become even more of a monster the moment when Yelin released in the game. And third being Encore. Now Encore is a very technical and hard to master character, but she probably isn't that hard as Calcharo. You can still use her, it just requires some skill. So yeah, and the fourth spot, we'll have to give it to Jianxin here, as Jianxin is a crowd control area and an AoE character as well. Tower of Adversity loves AoE character apparently, and also speaking crowd control. In general, we don't have that many characters, maybe besides Lingyang at the moment that is released, where she also has a sort of like a AoE slash or maybe crowd control kit to her in a way. And we're also gonna be waiting for Yelin as well, as she do have a AoE attack as well. So generally speaking, you can't go wrong with Jianxin at all. Even though she's in the fourth spot, you know, damage wise, Jian exists, but other than that, Jianxin is a pretty good character. And lastly, Lingyang. Unfortunately for Lingyang, this is more of a biased opinion on my own. I don't think Lingyang is a character that you should probably prioritize, as there are better other characters that do currently exist in the game. But if you don't care for meta, as I mentioned earlier in the video, fun over meta, do pick Lingyang. I think Lingyang kit is probably one of the more fun kits in the game at the moment, at the time I'm recording this. So if you do want to just use somebody who's very fun in the game, use Lingyang. I promise you, he's a lot of fun. I actually do have him unlocked in the game as well. I did get lucky enough to pull for him in the gacha, but unfortunately, I'm not going to build him because he's just not a character for me. And hey, that's the video. Hopefully this video did help you guys out on maybe having a better pick, especially since we're going to be having another choice of picking another 5-star character that we do want in the game pretty soon over some optimization issues. So please do choose wisely. Don't make a choice that you will regret later. Pick wisely. But other than that, if you did enjoy this video, do me a favor. I want to hit 10k subscribers this year, so subscribe to the channel if you're new, and check out my last videos where I talk about echoes in game if you want to learn more about echoes. And hey, I'll see you guys in another video.